Hello, dear viewer. If you like our videos, support us with a like, and don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with the exciting stories we have prepared for you. Your thumbs up is our muse for creativity, and your subscription helps us grow and thrive together. Without further ado, let's get right to today's story. Little Sins, Chapter 8. Stay confident. Don't act differently with our friends except to tone down the flirting. If a guy makes the slightest inappropriate comment, you blow him off hard. If they do it twice, you come at me. You stay away from the three bastards who set this whole thing up. If they talk to you the first time, tell them you never want to talk to them again. And if they persist, you come to me. Never be alone with any man, for any reason, until you are absolutely sure you can trust him, or perhaps not. Let time work on our side, and in a year or so, they will stop trying and things will go back to normal. We're done with those three. You'll probably have to give up your friendship with Marie. Give up on Marie? She's my best friend. That's the price. It's sad, isn't it? Maybe you can save him, but you'll have to make her realize that Tom has to be off limits. Completely. But we took care of him, she whined. No, you may have neutralized him. I can never be polite to him again. If he says 2 words to me, chances are I'll punch him in the face. Hit him in the balls when he falls. Repeatedly. She stood up and walked to the back of the house. Perhaps she had finally realized the depth of what her actions had cost us. The little sit-down didn't end right away. Alice and Carol soon left. I hugged Alice and told her that I would think about Miguel's problem. She thanked me and apologized again. Carol hugged me even tighter. I guess I should thank you again. You've brought me and my girls closer than ever. Not under the best of circumstances, but what is. Thank you. They're good girls. You did a great job. One stupid mistake that led to an aggravation. I think we caught it early enough to avoid the worst of it. She pulled me to her to kiss me, which was a far cry from what a mother-in-law should do. Afterward, she grinned. You're determined to trip me up, aren't you? Hey, don't take it out on me. She kissed me again. This is your fault. You were supposed to be so damn sweet and loving. Wendy's a lucky girl. Ed's a lucky guy, I reminded her. He's going to get lucky tonight. One more kiss like that, and I'll have to change some things. Mom, she chuckled. Don't make it worse, John. Comfort your wife tonight, okay? She's going to be hurt. I know. It takes up the middle of the bed. Carol pouted. There you go again. Teasing me, putting that image in my head. God, I'm going to wear my husband out. I laughed, wrapping my arms around her. We'll sleep in tomorrow, at least until 11 o'clock. I think we need to play a little. Don't you dare come before 10 o'clock. She looked at me in surprise and then kicked me in the shin. What a bastard you are. Teasing an old woman like that? Not before 10 o'clock. Do you hear me? She smiled. I'm leaving, before I leave a puddle on your porch. Good night, John. Good night, Mom. You're the best. Keep this up and you'll find out, she said over my shoulder. I won't be able to sit for a week. Kelly helped me clean up a bit, and I realized I still hadn't eaten. I ordered a delivery pizza, and when it arrived, we took it to the bedroom. It took a little while to coax Wendy out from under the blanket, but Kelly and I got busy cuddling and kissing her. We fed her and each other, until things got playful and a little naughty. Wendy finally laughed. You guys are making a mess, she playfully remarked. Yeah, I'm thinking of taking a shower when this is over, I told her. Kelly offered to clean up, and I took my wife into the shower. It was wonderful, loving and playful without being overly enthusiastic. She was shampooing my hair when I heard the shower door open. We need a bigger shower, Kelly announced. Her hands joined Wendy's hands in my hair. I never planned on trying to fit 3 people in here, I explained. Should we shave him clean? Asked Wendy. No, I think it looks weird. Just cleaned up, you know? Trimmed and neat. Don't I have the right to vote? I asked. They were rinsing the water from my hair, and I felt their lips touch. Of course, darling, my wife said softly. Do you want a little present or not? So that's the way it is then. She laughed. Of course not. But if you'd let us clean you up, we'd have more fun. Don't you want us to be happy, John? So I found myself sitting on the edge of the sink, and the 2 women wielding scissors and razors. I never thought I would enjoy it, But I was willing to go along with it if that's what it took to make them happy. There was a lot of trying the results. They were under the impression that the job would be easier to do if I stressed out while they did it. Of course, as soon as I was done, the conversation went back to how girls groom themselves. And it was another 20 minutes before we made our way out of the bathroom. I confess that I prefer a little hair to the completely bald look. For Wendy, the girl settled on a 2-inch high triangle pointing the way. Kelly was more of a minimalist. She didn't have much hair as it was. A small landing strip was all that was left of it by the time we were done. After this experience, it seemed natural for us to check the results, so I suggested that we lower ourselves on both of them, and they took turns working with me and then together. Wendy's previous suggestion of taking all 3 of them was left out of the picture. It was an evening of debauchery. Their moods had clearly soured, and they were determined to make me wait for the final discharge. Waiting and waiting and waiting. It was an incredible night, and any concerns Kelly had about me going down on her early were soon dispelled. I told you, just not the standard one, Wendy teased her, but I'd rather you didn't do it behind my back. When I'm here, I don't mind. Not at all, but when I'm not, and I'm thinking about you two together, I get a little jealous. I pulled away from Kelly, walked over to my wife, and pulled her to me. She's adorable, but you're right. It's not the same if you're not around. Kelly pressed herself against us. I don't mind if you want to. I like the feeling of being in your arms. Either one of you. That's more than enough for me. Let's take it down a notch. I'll only be intimate with each of you when all 3 of us are together. Is that okay with you? Wendy was silent for a moment. I don't want to get involved, she said quietly. I shook her lightly. Don't be silly. Intimacy is more important to Kelly and me. Let's not do anything that causes you the slightest bit of anxiety. That would be stupid. It's your choice, baby. Kelly looked nervous. If it bothers you, Wendy, I don't have to be here at all. No more teasing or anything, I swear. Wendy hugged our playmate, pulling her to her. I like having you around sometimes. Most of the time, to be honest. Sometimes I need it on my own, but when we're playing, just having fun, it's great to have you with us. I never thought about something like this, but you're so good about it. It makes everything better. My wife looked at me and kissed me gently. Do you agree? Is it better with her here? I kissed her back. Not 100%. It can be sensational, and watching you two take care of me together is mind-blowing. But it doesn't get any better than those moments when I want you, and only you, for love, not for anything vulgar. I'm not sure I'm saying this right, but you know what I mean. There are times when it's so much more than that. Wendy smiled. I know exactly what you mean, and you lost it for months, didn't you? I was such an idiot for not realizing it. I felt insulted that you were tired of my little gifts when you stopped them every time. I'm sorry. No, it's my fault too. I know what you like, and I took it away from you. There's nothing else like it. By the way, I love it. Always have and still do, I said. Wendy giggled, snuggling up to me. We were both a little silly. No more either or. We can do both, especially now that I've gotten that stupid idea of forbidding anything more out of the way. Just one more thing we owe our favorite girl a debt of gratitude for. She grinned mischievously. Want to repay her a little? I spent the next half hour with Kelly, pleasuring her, while my wife teased her with hugs and kisses. By the time we were done, she was exhausted. That was too naughty, I teased my wife, as we cuddled the exhausted teenager between us. Kelly smiled tiredly. Naughty Wendy. Wendy blushed. Not too far off, is it, Kelly? I got carried away. Kelly shook her head. It's never too far away with you. I love you. I'd do anything for you. They kissed, pulling away from each other a little, looking into each other's eyes, and then their lips met again. And so they stayed together, quietly, lovingly. I was content to hold Kelly in my arms. Hell, one of them was like that. I regretted the last time I'd worn myself out like that. They separated, and Kelly turned to me. She ran her fingers through my hair. You don't mind that I love her as much as I love you? No, I think it's wonderful, I said softly. We hugged each other. I looked at my wife, who was happily watching us. Whatever you want to do together, I'll be happy, I told her. Wendy blushed and looked at Kelly. We'll see, she said quietly, and there was a hint of nervousness in her voice. I leaned over to our girlfriend and kissed my wife tenderly. "I adore you, you know?" She smiled. "I know. It's the only thing that makes it possible. Thank you for the way you acted with Alice tonight. The fact that you forgave her made everything else possible. I don't think I could have done it if it wasn't for you. I know Mom wouldn't have. Thank you for putting family first." "No. I put you first. And I always will. I believe you will be happier with her in your life than out of it. If I didn't, I would have destroyed her. I'm still angry with her. But even more than getting back at her, I want you to be happy. And in this case, that means putting aside everything she's done and forgiving her. But I won't forget." Wendy looked a little surprised. "Oh, I guess I didn't realize. Would you destroy it? If she was anything but your sister. She came too close to ruining this marriage. Anyone who comes between you and me better watch out," I said, my anger returning a little. "I'll never do that. I promise," Kelly said fearfully. I thought she was asleep, so quiet was she. She was watching me anxiously. I gently stroked her face and kissed the tip of her nose. "I know, Angel. You're the complete opposite. You bring us together, make us better. I love you for that." That seemed to relax her, and she smiled, then turned to Wendy. Wendy was half asleep, eyes closed, head tilted forward, chin resting on the top of Kelly's head. I hugged my angel and tilted my head until my forehead rested against Wendy's forehead. It all felt so good, so natural. Strange, I'm sure, to those who hadn't been there, but in that moment, it was perfect. "Love you," I heard a light whisper escape Wendy's lips. "I know, baby," I replied quietly, sure that it was true. I don't know how I slept the night before. When I woke up, I could barely move. Wendy was lying at an angle, her head and shoulders resting on my chest, her arm thrown over me. Looking down at her from above, our Kelly was lying on her stomach. Her legs were entangled with Wendy's. Our 18-year-old mattress companion's head was resting on my thigh, one hand tucked under my twisted knee. When I tried to move, she whimpered slightly, grabbed my leg, and pressed closer. Her nearer arm was at an angle, her palm resting on my stomach, and her forearm pressed against Wendy's side. I don't know how they could have fallen asleep like that, but I perked up slightly and leaned back in my chair with a smile on my face. There were worse ways to wake up. I kissed the top of Wendy's head, content to stroke her back and relax. With my other hand, I reached down and brushed Kelly's hair back, exposing her sweet face, so quiet and innocent in her sleep. I closed my eyes and enjoyed my position. Life was good. Wendy must have been half awake. She turned her head slightly. I reminded myself to be sure to put some aloe on her. I felt a little guilty for how bruised she looked. Not that she didn't deserve them. Kelly winced, and I felt her face pressed against me. It wasn't more than a few seconds before I reacted. I looked down and saw her nuzzle her head against me, starting to kiss me. Looking at her, I could have sworn she was still asleep. I was happy to let her do her thing, completely relaxed. Wendy shifted, lifting her body slightly, and turned to face me. When I opened my eyes, I saw that she was looking at me, and the corners of her lips touched with a smile. "Good morning," she whispered softly. I smiled back at her. "Love you, baby." She moved closer, so that her face was closer to mine, and lifted her lips for a kiss, which I gladly gave her. "I know why you're smiling, still asleep. I can see that her mom isn't in a position to do any feeding right now. I'll try to get her down." She disappeared behind the door, and I found that the extra attention had completed the work Wendy had been doing. "Ride me, Wendy," I told her. She looked at me nervously. "Mom's here. Ride me or we'll both ride you," I told her. She blushed. I grinned and waved a hand at Kelly. "You too, Angel. Take me for a ride." The teenager smiled and kissed me. "My pleasure." Things started to happen slowly, and I listened to the chatter of the girls as if nothing out of the ordinary was happening. I felt pressure on the bed, as Carol took a seat next to us. Kelly laughed, saying we were all each other's breakfast. Wendy was sulking that we weren't leaving her alone. "Mom!" exclaimed Wendy, and I almost laughed when I heard Carol teasing her. "Just one picture. Your father will never believe it. I'll be so lucky." They talked about Alice, and Kelly scolded Wendy for never calling Marie. They discussed some more last-minute shopping and possibly going out to look for a car. "I can't let you do that," Kelly objected. Wendy laughed. "You're ours now, and if we want to buy you a car, there's nothing you can do about it." "That's too much," Kelly objected. Carol intervened. "We should talk to the Evanses. They still have their old Honda in the driveway. I think it hasn't moved in almost a year. I bet they'd give it away for cheap." "Let Daddy talk to them," Wendy said. I was surprised at how easily they could carry on a conversation. It almost made me think that I wasn't doing a good job. Thankfully, Kelly changed her position. The ego calmed down. She wasn't completely unresponsive to me. They were talking about going out to lunch, and then I heard the baby monitor go off and our daughter cried. "Damn it," Wendy whined. "Just give me one more moment, okay, Kel?" "Sounds like a deal to me," Kelly giggled. I felt Wendy's actions change. I felt her weight shift again, and the movements became even faster. "Doesn't he ever come?" asked Carol. Kelly laughed. "That's the third one this morning. He's in for the long haul." I didn't want to dissuade her from it, but judging by what was happening to Wendy, it wouldn't be for a while yet. After a few seconds, I felt a chill in the air as she released herself. It didn't last long. I felt the weight on the other side of the bed as Ginny's eager screams stopped. "Aren't they cute together?" said Wendy. Carol laughed. "I don't know if you could call it cute, but they're a handsome couple. Doesn't that embarrass you at all?" "No. I know they both love me much more than they love each other." "Pretty cool, huh?" replied Wendy. I knew it applied to me, but Kelly? Suddenly, Kelly seemed determined to end me. As soon as she made the decision, I was toast. I didn't last a minute. I'm done with this game. I'm done, as exhausted as I was. I tried to catch my breath, wiping my wet face, and lay there, exhausted. I could use another full night's sleep. I lifted my head and looked at my wife feeding our daughter. She was looking at me lovingly and smiling. Kelly was standing behind her, hugging her. She looked up at me too. She smiled happily. I turned to look at Carol, who was sitting nearby. She smiled at me and then lay down next to me, snuggling against me. "You poor thing. I can't imagine how you're going to survive those two." "It's hard work, but I'm certainly not going to let anyone else do it," I told her. She giggled and kissed me, then gave me a grimace. "You're going to have to do something about that breath, young man." "As soon as I have enough strength to get out of this bed. Wednesday, I think." She pressed herself against me. "No way. You're going to clean up and take all 4 of your girls to lunch." I was naughty and did something. "John?" she reprimanded. "4? Are you one of my girls, Mum?" She smiled and kissed my cheek. "Ever since you called me that first night. I'm not a toy like those two, but yes, John. I'm yours too, just like you're one of my boys." "You have no idea how happy I am," she laughed. "You better not be too happy. I'm not ready for what I'll get if you become more friendly." I shook her slightly and hugged her. "Don't worry. Not that you aren't hot, but I'm the last person in the world you need to worry about if things go too far." She smiled. "Good, as long as we understand our boundaries." I looked at my wife, a little surprised by her mother's actions. "It's your own fault," she said, smirking. "So damn irresistible." "You're such a naughty boy," she said softly. "I'm your wife's mother, remember?" she teased. "My wife's mom is in my bed," I teased back. "God, what am I going to do with you?" Wendy laughed, reached out and slapped my arm. "Lie down, boy." I looked at her and smiled guiltily. Kelly walked away, and I heard the water running in the tub. "John!" shrieked Carol. "What does that mean?" she asked. "Mom, leave it!" Carol quickly yanked her hand away. "I thought you were done for the day," she snarled. "Hey, me too. It's not my fault you're driving me crazy." I squeezed her in a hug. "If you take care of your granddaughter's burping, I'll let my wife take care of it." "I wouldn't do anything like that," said Wendy, but her smirk let me know she was teasing. It wasn't my fault, so I'm not responsible. I sat up and pulled Ginny away from my chest. "She's done, isn't she?" "Yeah, but that doesn't mean—" I moved my daughter across the bed and pulled Wendy to me. "You promised you'd never say no to me," I reminded her. "God, John, you're so bad. Do you want this now? When my mother and our child are here? Haven't you had enough? I pulled her close. Gentle, you monster. You've worn me out, she whispered, but I could see the look in her eyes. I'll never be enough of you. Haven't you realized that yet? I can't believe you, she said quietly, snuggling against me again. This denial thing, we'll leave it in the house, okay? I don't need you getting turned on and doing me in the ladies' room of some bar. I kissed her and realized that if my breath was as unpleasant as hers, her mother was right. I would never embarrass you. I would have waited until you were in the back seat of our car. The beast, she said, in front of my mother. I love you, I whispered to her. More than life itself. Love me, John. Love me forever, she said. It wasn't forever, but it was a long time. When we were done, we were alone. She pressed herself against me, needing help. You love me, don't you? She asked. Always and forever. Nothing will ever change that. You know I'm sorry, don't you? I never meant to hurt you, she whispered. I know. You don't need to talk about it. It's over, and you have nothing more to regret, okay? Don't even think about it. It happened, and if anything, it only makes us better. I know you'll never cheat on me, like everything I've ever known in my life. She nodded. Good. I'd die without you. She kissed me and grimaced. God, we need to get cleaned up, don't we? I nodded and rose from her embrace. I helped her out of bed and led her to the shower, marveling that life could get even better. I finished first and walked out to join the rest of the family in the living room. About time, Carol said, glancing at her watch. Don't start, Mom. It was your fault, I told her. Yes, you. Making me so worried. Naughty girl. I leaned over and gave her a quick kiss. You didn't stay? She shook her head. No way. You weren't playing anymore. It was too much for me to get involved. You really are crazy about her, aren't you? I sank down next to her, watching Kelly play with my daughter. Also, she's the best. You raised her well. Carol leaned over and hugged me. I'm glad. I'm a little nervous, she said, casting a meaningful glance at our former resident of the street. Kelly turned her attention to it. She laughed. Don't worry about me. Even when they were at each other's throats the first night, it was obvious. Nothing would come between them. Not even someone as gorgeous and irresistible as me, she teased playfully. She raised her eyes to Carol. As long as you stick to the rankings, you're just like her with another 20 years of experience. That must be hard to resist. You're not going to steal your child's man, are you? Carol looked at her in surprise, her mouth open. I? Like that could happen. No way. Besides, if you can't do it, it's unlikely anyone can. Kelly took Ginny in her arms and then sat on my lap. Good. As long as we behave, they're worth their weight in gold. She turned her head toward me and kissed me lightly. Isn't that right, handsome? Absolutely. I love you both, but Wendy is my life. Fine. Just keep that in mind and we'll all be happy as clams, Carol replied, leaning against me. Wendy walked in, looking lovely as always. So, what are you guys up to now? Carol smiled at her. How to make sure no one ever comes between you again. Wendy took her daughter from Kelly. I guess you don't have to worry about that, do you, dear hubby? I guess that's the answer we've all come to, I said, lifting a pouting Kelly off my lap. I, for one, am starving. Let's get this show on the road, or we'll be eating dinner instead of lunch. Patty's restaurant was a strange little establishment. It was only open for breakfast during the week and lunch on weekends. My mom almost had a seizure when I told her that was where we were going. The portions were huge and there wasn't a single healthy dish on the entire menu. I felt just amazing sitting with 3 beautiful women and my magical daughter sleeping in her carrier at the end of the table. I felt a prick of envy again that he could sleep so much and anywhere. Wendy sat next to me, at the end, next to our girl. Kelly sat across from me, and my mum sat next to her. Everyone was in a great mood. 2 days until Christmas, and holiday cheer makes everything a little better. Mom had just gotten off the phone with her husband. You can stop by the Evans anytime. They'll be glad to unload the car. She gave us their number so we could call ahead. Dinner was a real feast, each plate enough for 2. Kelly and I managed to wash both of them. Sometimes I wondered if the girl had a tapeworm. How could she eat as much as she did and still look like a hungry girl? "What?" she asked, nibbling a sausage off her mom's plate. "Still hungry?" I teased. She blushed. "Making up for a few lost meals, so sue me. When I hit 105, I'll slow down. Don't worry, Angel, I'll widen the bedroom door if I need to." I laughingly dodged a piece of sausage flying at me. "I've seen everything now. Kelly's throwing away food." "Keep it up, Buster, and I'll make you beg so hard you'll cry." She smirked and poked her fork at Wendy's pancakes, which hadn't seen any action in quite some time. "Hey, strangers." I heard and saw Tonya walking in our direction. I clenched my fists because I knew her husband Aaron couldn't be too far away. Lousy bastard. Sure enough, while Tonya was being introduced to Kelly and her mom, Aaron came up behind her with the two little ones in his arms. They were seated next to us and he got busy arranging them. He looked back at me a couple times and I could tell he was nervous. I was surprised when, after sitting the kids down, he came to my end of the table. "John, can I talk to you for a minute? Outside?" I wanted to punch him in the face, but I just nodded. "Be back in a minute," I told the girls. We walked out the door, and he walked onward to the corner. I watched him gather his courage. He turned to face me, and I assessed my chances. I'm not a small guy, but Aaron looked like he could still play in college. He was 6 feet tall, 220, and he was well built. He was as black as any man I'd ever seen, almost blue-black. I could imagine my wife being attracted to a man like that. I tensed up. "Listen, I owe you an apology. I really screwed up." I didn't say anything. First, I didn't know how much he thought I knew. "I took advantage of Wendy," he said, his voice cracking. "It was wrong and stupid. I was drunk, but there was no excuse for it." "Did you sleep with her?" I asked, checking him out. He shook his head resolutely. "God, no, what I did was bad enough. I let her give me a little gift. Just once, and it's been plaguing me ever since." I just stared at him. "You want to hit me? Go ahead. I deserved it. I was a bastard. I would never do that to a friend. I swear it's the biggest mistake of my life. I couldn't take it," I told Tonya. This shocked me. "Who else did you tell?" "No one. I swear. No one. I was too ashamed. I'm not a cheater. It was just Tonya from sophomore year. I've never done anything like that before. I swear I've never even been tempted. If it was anyone other than Wendy. You know what she did next, don't you?" I nodded. "It worked out for me. She let me go easily. So if you want revenge, I understand. At the Christmas party, Tom offered it to me again, but I couldn't. Not that she wasn't tempting as hell." I raised my eyebrows, waiting for him to finish his thought. "Damn it, John. We all know what she does for you. I couldn't help but think about it the first time, but never again. I'm sorry. I really am." "How did Tonya take it?" I asked. "You'd better not know. I'm so far in the doghouse I wonder if I'll ever see the light of day. She says the only reason she's keeping me is because I confessed. If she heard it from anyone else, my ass would be out the door. It's probably a smart move." He nodded. "I hope it didn't cause too much trouble between you two. She wouldn't let us do anything else. Nothing at all. Said it would be cheating. I wanted you to know that. It would have killed me to think I was the reason you two broke up. Shit, I screwed up. I evened out my breathing. I wanted to be angry with him. If he smirked just once, to do something wrong, his humiliation took almost all of my anger away." "Thank you for being so candid about it." He waited, nervous. "If you want to do something about it, maybe not here, not in front of my kids. I can meet you somewhere." I shook my head. "No, I think we're done here. Let the women deal with you. That was a lousy thing to do, Aaron. You think I don't know? I'd kill anyone who did that to Tonya. It was great. You're a lucky bastard to be able to come home, but it's not worth it. I just hope one day you can forgive me." "Great? That was the worst little gift she's ever gotten in her life. You have no idea." His look was priceless. I'm not kidding. She's the best when she has a heart. I shook my head. "Let's not talk about this anymore. It's over, okay? Give us some time. I really don't want to see you right now, but maybe in time I can get over it." He nodded quickly. "Anything you wish. Thank you. I'm sorry. You're a better man than I am, John. I guess. I would never do that to a friend's wife. Not like that. No way." He lowered his head and shook it. "I know. God, I know." I turned and walked back to the table. I assume he followed me, but I didn't bother to check. I took my seat, and Wendy looked at me nervously. "Is everything okay?" she asked. I leaned closer, lowering my voice. "An apology," he told Tonya. Her eyes got big, and I heard her gasp. "Really?" I nodded. "He's in deep shit. But at least they're still together." She shook her head, eyes glittering. God, what a mess. A few minutes of stupidity, and everyone's paying and paying. I scooted closer and whispered. "He said it was great." Her eyes flashed with anger. "I swear, John, I wasn't lying. Worst thing I've ever given. It didn't last 2 minutes. You have to believe me." "It's a little sad." "Is it great?" She grinned mischievously. "Jared was even worse, and he was willing to pay for another one. That's just ridiculous. I almost feel sorry for both of them." She noticed my look and added hastily, "Almost." I said almost. We finished eating, and they paid the bill while I was gone. We got up to leave, and as we were saying goodbye to Tonya and Aaron, she waved at me. Shit. I went to her side and she grabbed my hand, pulling me to her so I could whisper, "I'm so sorry, John. I'll take care of his sorry ass. Can you leave it to me? Please?" It was obvious now that she was nervous almost as much as he was. "Of course, it's over as far as I'm concerned. I won't be having a beer with him anytime soon, but there's no payback either. I appreciate that he had the guts to apologize." She nodded gratefully. "Thank you. I won't do anything like that for you, if that's what you're thinking. No revenge. No, it's not what I had in mind. Not that I don't think you'd be amazing, but it's not my style. I'll let you and Wendy handle it." She pulled me to her and kissed my cheek. "Thanks again. Don't be too hard on Wendy. They used her. Bastards." In the car, I had to recount both conversations. It took a few minutes, and I answered a few questions. Mom was the first to speak. "So you're done with him? No revenge or nothing?" I shrugged. "I guess. Not thrilled about it, but at least he apologized and repented. I think Tonya's going to make him pay for a while. Wendy's already dealt with him on our end." "What about the others?" she asked. "I don't know yet. I haven't decided yet." Dear viewers, the 8th and final part of our story brings us to the conclusion of this intricate and multi-layered narrative. In this installment, we see how profoundly life-changing mistakes made in a moment of weakness can be, and how the power of forgiveness and understanding can repair broken relationships. John is faced with a choice between wanting revenge and realizing that forgiveness is not a sign of weakness, but a path to healing and getting on with life. The episode demonstrates the importance of honesty and sincerity in relationships, and shows that the truth can be painful, yet liberating. Despite the sexual experiences and flirting that are the highlights of the story, at its core are deep feelings of love, loyalty, and a desire to understand each other regardless of the mistakes made. John and Wendy have traveled the difficult road from resentment to healing and strengthening their relationship. They learn to appreciate each other more by taking each other into account and preparing themselves to get through any challenges they would face in the future. This journey was not only a journey of relationship between husband and wife, but also a journey of personal growth for each of them. In this story, we also encounter the theme of motherhood and family relationships. We see how important it is to support each other and how meaningful moments of acceptance and forgiveness are. The conclusion of this story reminds us that family can be a source of pain and hurt, but also an incredible source of support and love that can heal even the deepest wounds. Don't miss the full version of this profound and moving story, available on our Patreon, where you will find not only additional content, but also the opportunity to delve more deeply into the experiences and emotions of the characters.